All right, good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. I'm Jenny McCollum, the Director of Procurement Services and the Chief Procurement Officer for JEA and the Chair of the Awards Committee. I'd like to call the April 8th, 2021 awards meeting to order. We do have a quorum, and in person we've got Stephen Datt, Ricky Erickson, and Hai Vu, and then remotely we have Joe Arfano and Laura Dutton. OGC is represented by Julie Davis, and Budget is represented by Lori Whitmer. Before we get started today, I will ask if there's any public comments in person in the bid room.
No comments.
All right. Thank you. Do we have any comments that came in via email before the meeting started?
No.
All right, wonderful. And do we have any public comments for those who have phoned in today?
No comments.
All right. Then we will get started. On today's agenda, we have items 1 through 3 and 5 through 6. Item 4 has been deferred, and all of these items have been reviewed by Procurement and Budget and are ready for the Awards Committee review. I'd like to just note and apologize for getting the packet out late today. For this week, we had a last-minute ad that needed to go this week, and you guys will see, we'll talk a little bit about that for award number 6, but we do apologize. This is a small agenda, so hopefully you all had a chance to read through everything and get some of your thoughts, questions out, but I will spend a good amount of time talking about them just to make sure everybody understands what we're doing, and that way hopefully that'll make up for the loss of time that you guys had from getting the award packet yesterday. So what we'll do, as we normally do, we'll roll call through the committee after we review each of the items. I'll ask for a motion to approve in a second, and then we'll go through each of you individually to get your vote. We'll start with the meeting minutes from the April 1st meeting. Do we have any questions or comments? All right, can we get a motion to approve the meeting minutes from April 1st, 2021?
Stephen Datt, so moved.
Hai Vu.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Hai. We'll roll call through the committee to approve the meeting minutes from April 1st, 2021, starting with Stephen Datt.
Approved.
Hai Vu.
Approved.
Ricky Erickson.
Approved.
Laura Dutton. Approved. And Joe Arfano.
Approved.
Thank you. Award number 2, this is what we call an OEM, Original Equipment Manufacturer. This is for our Buckman Water Reclamation Facility Biosolids Dryer Rebuild. Andritz Separation, Inc. is our awardee in the amount of $7,615,539. And we are expecting this project to be completed in September of 2022. So a little bit of history on the dryer. The existing drum dryer system has been in operation since October of 2002. So due to its age, it is currently operating at about 75% design capacity. So JEA is, as most of you know, is currently implementing a new biosolids management plan. However, this plan will take about 5 years to complete. And so this is just one piece of several projects that are going to be needed to keep the biosolids process at Buckman operating reliably until we can get that new management plan in place. The current dryer may fail at any time. We've got lead times for this procurement to replace is anywhere from 7 to 10 months. If the drum fails, JEA, and we don't replace it, JEA will be forced to haul biosolid sludge from the Buckman Water Reclamation Facility And we estimate that cost being about $3 to $4 million per year, and really don't have a location that we currently take that we haul our biosolids to. They really wouldn't be able to take the increased output, so we would likely have to haul somewhere else, which could cost us more. And then lastly, we also evaluated against the timeline and the cost of a new dryer system, which estimated at about $90 million. And just with comparing that to the sludge hauling and the cost, it just seemed to be in the best interest and the best option for JEA to renew and rebuild what we've got. So I'll pause there and ask if you guys have any questions or comments, or if the business has anything else you'd like to add.
Jenny, this is Stephen. Your begin date year, I believe, should be 2021.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments?
So I do want to emphasize the point that we only have one dryer out at Buckland. It is a single point of failure, and it operates 24/7. So if it does go down, we really don't have another option. The hauling is there, but as Jenny mentioned, when you have to haul the entire amount of biosolids that Buckland generates, it becomes infeasible. We don't have enough land application sites, landfill sites to haul it to within the state. You have to haul it out of state, and the costs become a lot more than the estimated $3 to $4 million. So the best thing to do right now is to do what we can to keep the current dryer running for estimated time of 7 to 10 years while we get the biosolids process up and running.
Thank you. Hi. Any other comments or questions on award number 2? All right, I'll ask for a motion to approve award number 2.
Stephen Datz, second.
I did not hear who's first. Who? It was very loud. I heard Stephen with the second. Who was our first?
I think I beat Laura. Joe.
All right, Laura, you'll have to take the next one. All right, we have a motion with Joe Arfano and a second with Stephen Datz. We will roll call through the committee to approve award number 2, starting with Joe Arfano.
Approved.
Stephen Datz.
Approved.
Hai Vu.
Approved.
Ricky Erickson.
Approved.
And Laura Dunn.
Approved.
Thank you. Award number 3, this was an invitation for bid. This is for construction of approximately 1,500 feet of 8-inch water main along Mandarin Road. JEA is extending the service infrastructure to improve hydraulic reliability of the water system in that area. The Keaton Group, Inc., doing business as Baldwin Quality Plumbing, is our recommended awardee in the amount of $344,762.88. Project completion is expected November of 2021, and the Keaton Group is a JSEB firm. We received quite a bit of competition with 6 bids, and the award amount is approximately 3% lower than our budget estimate. So when looking at how the bids came in, the horizontal directional drill portion of the bid for the trenchless installation is lower than what we were estimating. So I will pause there and ask the committee if there's any questions or comments on award number 3. All right, can I get a motion to approve award number 3?
Laura Dunn, motion.
Thank you, Laura. Can I get a second?
Hai Vu, seconded.
Thank you. Hi, we'll roll call through the committee to approve award number 3, starting with Laura Dutton.
Approve.
Hi, Vu.
Approved.
Ricky Erickson.
Approved.
Stephen Datz.
Approved.
And Joe Arfano.
Approved.
Thank you. All right, award number 5 is the contract increase. This is for crane rental and heavy hauling services. We have 2 contracts. This is for services really for a variety of areas within JEA, but you know, our transmission group, substation distribution group, water and sewer department, and various JEA generating plants use this contract. We've got 2 contracts with one with Sim Crane and Equipment Co. with the recommended contract increase of $360,000, and then Bale Brothers Inc. with the same amount, $360,000 for a contract increase. If you look at the table, it shows our original award contract totals that we've had since the original award that have been increased, and then this contract increase and what our new not to exceeds would be. So, Stephen, have you done the math on those for us? Just kidding. We double check those. So our end date, we also are we're also utilizing the first renewal option here. So the end date is moving to November of 2022. So that $720,000 should get us at least through the end of this fiscal year and the start, or what we're estimating for the next year. And if we need to come back, we will do that. But we just base it off of historical spend and when we bring it to the committee. So I will pause there and ask if there are any questions or comments.
Jenny, this is Stephen. I think in the first paragraph, last sentence, I would just recommend that we change that to the 2 original contracts were awarded based on a 70-30 split, just for clarity.
Okay. I will make that edit. I think Rodney's on. He'll probably be editing right now. Any other questions or comments?
Jenny,
All
this
right.
is
I will ask-
Julie Davis. Is there something, and it may have been added since I looked at it, but was there something added to renew the contract? Is that covered in the write-up? I didn't see that when I reviewed it. I may have
Yes.
missed it.
So if you look at under the background recommendation, the 3rd paragraph, that first sentence talks about request to add funds for O&M and capital projects to allow the contract to run through the term and initially fund the execution of the first renewal.
Okay. Thank you.
It was hidden. I had to, when I saw the dates move, I had to also find it. Any other questions or comments?
Just to make it clear that the committee's also approving the, right, not just the increase. Okay. That would be required.
Okay. So just to clarify, I'll ask for a motion to approve award number 5 with the edits as described by Stephen, and a clarification that this is a contract increase in the amount and a contract renewal for 1 year.
Hi, Boo. So moved.
Thanks, Hi. Can I get a second?
Ricky, second.
I was waiting on you, Ricky. You've been quiet this week. All right, we'll roll call through the committee to approve award number 5, starting with Haivu.
Approved.
Ricky Erickson.
Approved.
Stephen Datz.
Approved.
Laura Dutton.
Approve.
And Joe Arfano.
Approved.
Thank you. All right, this was our late ad. This was something that was just brought to our attention late on Monday night, Tuesday morning. So I'll spend a little bit of time talking about it, and you guys may have already heard some about what this is, but award number 6 is a joint project with the city of Jacksonville. And this is, the city is a grant recipient of some federal funds from the U.S. Department of Treasury, and the amount of about $29 million. And this is for local implementation of the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. So the Jacksonville City Council appropriated $5 million of those funds to be used to provide emergency utility assistance to qualified eligible households in Duval County in accordance with the grant. And we've got an attachment, an agreement attached that it outlines, what those requirements are. So the city has procured the services of the United Way in Northeast Florida and Civitas, I think, LLC, to assist with the implementation of the program. And so JEA's portion of it is to provide utility assistance to the eligible households. So we've written this up. The money is coming to JEA, and we expect this program to be about 8.5 months, but we've made a note here, or until the grant funding expires if it's later. Just as a note, JEA will only disperse the utility assistance funds to pay utility and home energy costs and utility and home cost arrears for eligible households in accordance with the grant requirements and other applicable law. So we will also provide the city's contract manager with a monthly report that includes a detailed summary of the utility assistance fund, including all the information required to be reported by the city and or its subrecipients in accordance with the grant. I'm going to pause there. Chris Jackson is on, and if there's anything, Chris, that you want to add from your perspective, he is over this program for JEA. I will give you a moment to do that. If I've covered everything, then you feel free to pass.
Sure. Thank you, Jenny. I think you've covered it well. I'm open to any questions that the board, the council, the committee has.
Okay, thanks, Chris. So are there any questions or comments on award number 6?
Appreciate the write-up. Good job.
Yes, thank you, Stephen. That means a lot. This was a last-minute ad too. We must do our best work under pressure. Okay, can we get a motion to approve award number 6?
Laura Dutton, so moved.
Thanks, Laura. Can we get a second?
Seconded.
I heard Haivu first, so we will go with Haivu as a second. We'll roll call through the committee to approve award number 6, starting with Laura Dutton.
Approved.
Thank you. Haivu.
Approved.
Stephen Datt.
Approved.
Ricky Erickson.
Approved.
And Joe Arfano.
Approved.
Thank you. So all of our award items have been reviewed individually and approved by the awards committee. So our entire agenda for April 8th, 2021 has been approved. Before we adjourn, we do have an informational item with the agenda being light. We have a presentation by Sean Connor on our alternative collaborative delivery methods for the water wastewater group. We thought this would be beneficial to the new committee members who aren't as familiar with some of these different collaborative methods. And what our hope is that as you start to see these come through, this presentation will help clarify for some of the new members, or even, I think Hai is probably very familiar with all of these, but for the other committee members who don't do these in their areas, this should give you guys a good summary of what you're going to see as they come through the awards committee. So I'm going to pass it over to Sean Connor to present. And if you guys have questions, we'll have a chance at the end for you guys to ask those.
Okay, thank you, Jenny.
You're welcome.
So like Jenny mentioned, I wanted to just do a real brief overview of how, as our alternative delivery projects are really starting to ramp up now, I wanted to make sure the awards committee understood some of the terminology of what we're asking for, how these packages work, how these projects, the delivery methods make sense for JEA and how we're moving forward. So with that, if you have any questions, please stop and ask as we go through this. Really, like I said, this is just really for some additional information. So the two alternative, or sometimes called collaborative delivery methods that we're talking about are the construction manager at risk, or CMAR, and the progressive design build. On the left here, I have these little donut graphics. I stole these from the DVIA, just so I can't take credit for them, but these are kind of a good graphic to show the contractual relationship for each of these methods. On the top one here, the little puzzle piece indicates that that's a contractual relationship between the owner and designer, and also the owner and the CMAR firm. But for CMAR, the designer and the contractor, the CMAR, do not have a direct contractual obligation or relationship with one another. For progressive design build, the owner is contracts with one design build firm. Typically, that's a construction contractor that has either a sub in a design firm, or it's a design build team that proposes together. And I'll go through that a little bit in a little more detail here in a few minutes. But the benefits to JEA, one of the things, reasons we're doing this is for some faster delivery. These methods allow us to start construction on portions of the work before the design is complete, and therefore they're well suited for large projects. We can also have the construction firm on board early, so they can provide reviews of constructability, the designer some real world input from actual construction standpoint. We have an opportunity to pre-purchase materials and equipment during design, especially that have a long lead time, which we've done quite a bit of that already. We get early cost estimates by the contractor, who's essentially eventually going to be on the hook to build it. So we theoretically have a better idea of what the project costs throughout the design phase. And then finally, we negotiate a guaranteed maximum price through an open book method. And I'll explain that in more detail later, but essentially that gives us the opportunity to see where all the money is going to be spent. Let's move on to the next slide, and I'll talk about more of the procurement impacts here in a minute. Just kind of some definition terms. We already talked about CMAR, progressive design build. The guaranteed maximum price is essentially a contract amendment that we will do throughout the process for early work packages and a final guaranteed maximum price contract. And I'll discuss that in detail at the end here, but that's what GMP means, guaranteed maximum price. Off-ramp is a term we use. We have the ability anytime to discontinue our relationship with the CMAR firm and or the design build firm. If we cannot agree to a cost, unlike a design bid build, if we have a problem with bids, we have to essentially stop and rebid or revise the scope and go back. The off-ramp allows us to not be locked into a negotiated contract if we cannot meet in the middle. Pre-construction services is the term that we use. It's the original contract we give to the CMAR firm to be present for design work, constructability reviews, essentially, updating schedules, that kind of thing, up until the construction actually starts. Early out package or early work package I just alluded to are construction packages that can be completed before the entire design is done. These consist of early work such as clearing, material purchases, equipment purchases. One of the examples of this is at the Greenland Water Reclamation Facility. We just broke ground on the first early work package, which is the road and utilities into the site, as well as some clearing and site initial site prep. So that's going to allow us to get that work done and out of the way without having to wait on the rest of the design work to be done, which is still at 60%. And then services during construction, no different than any design bid build job where we have the engineer providing time and material services during construction for RFI reviews and various other issues. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so this is the relationship kind of graphically between our design bid build process and then CMAR and progressive design build. I kind of like talking about this slide because it kind of shows at the top in blue, we procure and perform design, and then we procure and perform construction. With the CMAR in the middle, it allows us to start procuring the contractor through a qualifications-based CC&A process and give them a contract to perform pre-construction services and then early work packages as they come about during the design process. So it shortens the schedule overall. At some point, usually between 60 and 90%, will be issued a final guaranteed maximum price proposal that we will then review and, if is appropriate, award to the CMAR project or CMAR team, and then that will be through construction. Very similarly on design or progressive design build, we just have one award, one contract at the beginning for a design build team, and then they go through design kind of in the same way. It's just we have the contract with one entity instead of two. All right, let's go to the next slide. So specifically for awards, on the CMAR, we're going to see 3 or more awards for this delivery method. There'll be an award for the designer, and then there'll be an initial award for the CMAR contractor. We're trying to do most of our final GMP awards at 90%, so that's the 3rd award. And then there'll be an additional awards between 30 and 90 for early out packages, as I described before. So the summary is there will be 2 contracts and at least 3 awards. And the way that we kind of see those with the awards committee is for the CMAR package, anything after the initial award will come as a contract amendment. So when you guys see those come by, we will say this is an amendment to the pre-construction services package for, an early work package or, the final guaranteed maximum price. We'll make that clear in the award document. Okay, next slide. Okay, it's very similar for progressive design build. We'll have an award, just 1 contract and 1 award initially for pre-construction and design build design services through 90%. And then early work packages as needed throughout design, and then a final GMP typically around 90%. So this one will just have 1 contract and 2 or more awards. Next slide, please. Okay, so a little more detail on the guaranteed maximum price and risk. The final GMP proposal, as I mentioned, is typically negotiated between 60 and 90%. We're pushing to do most of our packages at 90% design because that's when we have permitted documents that everything is very, very well defined. There's a little bit of unknowns, but not much. So the price certainty is much better than at 60%. The reason we would potentially consider using setting a GMP at 60% is if there was a need for a large portion of the work to get completed quicker. Although we have pretty much managed that through early work packages at this point. The GMP packages are developed using an open book accounting method. So the contractor, while we procure him through a qualifications-based process, we have a lot of transparency in seeing what their cost for materials, labor, their rates, all of their subcontractor costs. All of these are presented to us in an open book manner where we can review and negotiate those items as we go through the design process. So we have between the engineer and our owner's advisor that we have, we've been going through each early work package, with a fine-tooth comb. We found a lot of, savings, just making sure that we understand all the details between their rates and their estimated durations for typical work that they're doing. So we've seen some savings already for that. The other thing to note is we are allowing the CMAR and the Progressive Design Build contractors to close the book, so to speak, on subcontractor packages that have been competitively bid. So, for example, if we have a fence, we need to put up a job site fence, and the contractor goes out and says, all right, I got 3 quotes. This is the low one. JEA says, yep, looks reasonable, and that's it. We don't have to have all the detail accounting for that, that the CMAR is subcontracting. And that is our sole really decision on that. If we choose not to, we also can make them provide open book pricing for that as well, based on how the contract's written. The maximum price once a GMP is set will not increase unless we have an owner-defined change in scope. And essentially what that does is it puts a ceiling at the cost. So when we start work, we are going to be reviewing invoices based on actual work performed. Anything they don't spend will revert back to us, except for something that was listed as contingency, which typically has a shared savings in it. So if we set a GMP at $10 million and it comes back at the end of the project, we've only spent $9.5 million, that's what we paid for. And if it ends up being $10.5 million, well, that extra $500,000, as long as it's not a scope change, is the risk portion that the contractor has in this, that we wouldn't owe them. Additional risks are used to build our contingency, which, well, let's move to the next slide. I think the last slide here, we'll talk about contingency and risk. Essentially, the cost, because we are setting a GMP without 100% design documents, we do have a risk register that we negotiate with the contractor that talks about the unknowns, the known unknowns anyway, that we assign probability and dollars to create a contingency fund that is part of the contract. The contractor has control of those contingency items as long as they're for things that are in scope. And typically, like I mentioned, there's a cost sharing incentive to reduce their use. So all of our contracts, I believe, have a 25%, 75% savings or cost sharing incentive. So for every dollar in contingency that's unspent, the contractor gets 25 cents and we get 75. If they had spent that dollar, they would have not only used that dollar, but they get a fee on top of it. So if not spending the contingency is really beneficial to us and them, they end up getting a little more back, and we end up getting a lot more back. And then finally, like I mentioned, if the GMP is not successfully negotiated, we have always the option to off-ramp that work and go out to the open market and bid. This provision is really important because it keeps us from being essentially locked in where we don't have any kind of way to negotiate a fair price for the work. We have taken the off-ramp a couple times now. One of them was a progressive design build job where because we had the contractor and the designer as one team, we canceled the contract for that entire contract, both the design and the construction. And we are going back out for design, and we'll bid out the construction when that design is done. And we did that because we were at a point where we were not anywhere close to negotiating what we thought was a fair price for the job. We're also able to essentially off-ramp early work packages. One example is we had a early equipment purchase and installation at one of our CMAR jobs. The equipment was purchased through an early work package, but we could not negotiate a good installation cost because the contractor, is out of state. They would essentially have to mobilize early, demobilize, and then come back for the rest of the actual plant work, which was not going to be cost competitive with, a small job up front that our local contractors could take care of for us. So we were able to off-ramp and bid that package, and then the CMAR will still have an opportunity to provide GMP proposals for the rest of the work. So I went pretty fast. That was a lot of information, I know, especially if you haven't, seen this in detail, but I'm happy to answer any other questions that you have. Okay.
All right. Great job. Thanks, Sean. I appreciate that. All right. So I don't have any other business to come before the awards committee, but I will ask if there is anyone else that does. Okay. Thank you guys very much. We appreciate your time. You guys now have a little less than an hour back, so enjoy that gift of time, and we are adjourned. We will see you guys next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all. Have a good
You're
day.
welcome. Thank you. You too.
Thanks, Jenny.